G'day, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Australian Property Investment Podcast. We are loving the feedback that people are sending in, that the episodes are resonating and the guests that we're getting on are really hitting the spot. So today's guest reached out to us. I'm so proud. I'm so happy you did that, Richard, because I think you have an amazing story to tell. Our guest today is Richard Bharata, who is a property investor, now become a buyer's agent, quit the corporate rat race out of engineering, and has a story that I feel has to be told because it's a warts and all story. Richard, you are very honest. You're very open about your journey to date. When I talk to you and you've got a decent portfolio, you don't have any tickets on yourself. And like I said, these are the stories that people connect with and I guess it really resonates with the investor story, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. And that's how I found myself. I resonated with people who are much ahead in terms of their investing journey and their pitfalls, even when they started in a less fortunate position than I am. And it really inspired me and get me started. And I just want to do something similar.
Awesome, mate. That's what we call paying it forward, because your story is going to inspire someone listening to take some action. And like I say, the property market rewards action takers and decision makers, and you certainly have made some decisions and you've taken some action, and we're going to unpack that in a minute. But let's jump to where you are today, because what's that saying? You start with the end in mind, and I think you've done pretty well for yourself. So, as it stands today, what does your portfolio look like?
So it's 10 properties, including our PPR.
Yeah.
And then around 6.5, 6.6 million as of now.
Yeah.
So, and then we built this starting 2021.
Yeah.
So that's.
So we're talking within the space of 3 years.
Yes, that's right. So.
You say that very modestly. Just let that sink in. If you're listening, 3 years, I'll get a lot of people that will say, "Oh, look, I've left it too late, or I've made mistakes," and they feel it set them backwards. But what you're saying is, hey, in 3 years, if you kind of grab this bull by the horns, you've changed your life, man, your family's life, isn't it?
It becomes my life. Property investing becomes my life. Even when we bought our first place to live in, like every week we'll be looking at realestate.com, seeing what's recently sold, just to see how it performs. And that was my first experience of capital growth, because we bought in Sydney, and we got a bit lucky because it was at the beginning of the boom. And then within the span of 3 months, 4 months, we were seeing comparables selling like 200, 300K higher.
Wow.
Which is,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't use the word luck. I never say that.
Yep.
You've had to take some action, and you've had to jump in. So you make your own luck when you take some action.
I'm prepared.
Yeah, well done. Yeah. Well done. So now that we've kind of got to that point, take us on that journey, and we'll kind of go back to the start, because I know your story kicks off as a young graduate out of uni, and I believe you came all the way from Perth. So
correct.
Take us through, because I think that's a really, I guess, rocky time for you when you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed out of uni, the world's at your feet, and you suddenly can't get a job. That's quite career-defining, isn't it?
It is. Do you want me to talk through how I graduated uni?
Absolutely, mate. Let's go.
I had a very high expectation. I'm a civil engineer now. I've spent 4 years back then. Now they have to spend 5 years thinking I'm going to earn a lot of money. So basically, I graduated in Perth and in 2015. So I was 22 back then. And I was under the impression I would be earning a lot of money when I graduated, because I worked hard for it. All my friends worked hard for it. But at that time, Perth was having a mining bust, and literally everything was closed. Like if you go to industrial area, like all chained up, like it's like a ghost town, right? So I couldn't find any job. No one wanted to take me. Put in like hundreds of applications. Wow. They just don't want to take me at all, right? And I ended up working 4 jobs, which is very quite unrelated to my degree. 4 jobs. One of them is being internship. Yeah. And I work for free.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's not really a job.
But not really. I actually was applying for other jobs in that internship. What happened, I knock on the doors and saying, "Hey, I've got resumes here. Do you have space?" And then they're like, "Yeah, we've got an empty desk. If you want to take it, then you can come anytime you want." Yeah. So that's really nice, because I can put that in my resume.
Absolutely.
For my next job. You don't want to show a hole in your resume.
Yep.
But then the other 3 earning jobs will be, I worked as a tutor, like a high school tutor. Yeah. And then I worked as in the resume, I call it inventory management, but really it's a stock taker. So you get the beeping and then count the number of stocks in Kmart or JB Hi-Fi. And then I have worked in kebab restaurant, which I got fired because it's not for me. Kitchen is not for me.
Yeah.
Then I moved to sushi place, which again got fired again for the second time.
So hospitality is not your calling, my friend.
No, not in my blood. So yeah, so I worked all those 4 jobs, but I was basically, I don't want to sit and do nothing and accept reality. So I was actually applying jobs in Sydney when I was in that internship. Yeah. There's one little funny story if you want me to go through that. So I was applying Sydney using my friend's address in Sydney. It was an idea my friend gave. Why don't you just put my address in Sydney so you have a higher chance of getting interviewed?
Yeah.
And so I did that after a few weeks, and I got a phone call from an engineering company, and they call me like, and then are you available tomorrow for an interview? I didn't know they were calling from Sydney, right?
Yeah.
And then they said, yeah, of course, because I was really excited. First time I get a phone call, and they said the address is in what they called It's a place called in Marion.
Marion.
Yeah,
Out
but
west.
there's a botanical garden in Perth. It's got the same name,
Yeah.
basically. So I was under the impression, hang on, why are we having an interview in a botanical garden in Perth, right? And then when they sent me the address, it turned out it's actually in Sydney. So the next day I packed up, booked really cheap flights, and never came back to Perth since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
One-way ticket to Sydney.
Pretty much, yeah. So, and then we did the interview. We didn't get the job. So, but what happened was when I went there, I gotta expose myself to all these companies. So I came there with 20 other resumes.
Yeah.
And then start doing the same thing like I was doing in Perth, dropping my resumes. I ended up getting a job in one of those companies.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
So
That's what it is, mate. You got to beat your own chest, and you got to make your own luck a little bit, right? Knock on doors, and then see them they'll open.
correct.
Yeah,
Kings
well done.
Park, that's what it's called.
Kings Park.
So there's a suburb
okay.
called Kings Park in
Yes.
Blacktown, but in Perth, it's a really big botanical garden. Which I was like, why are we having interview here? So, yeah. So
Yeah, right. So you come to Sydney, you kind of fumble your way around, get a role, and then what happens at that point?
yeah, so I got my first job. In that job, it's really not like my expectation. I think I was earning 45K as a graduate engineer, and was working 12 hours a day, Monday to Saturday. Like it wasn't really what I was expecting life would be after 4 years of uni degree. But what happened is it really built my character, and I think I sort of identify my own strength in that hardship. Like I always want to give my best, even though I know I was somewhat overworked and underpaid, but I still want to give my best in my job.
Yeah.
I look back and I was really desperate for a job out of uni, and now I got it. I should really be grateful as a minimum. So I worked really hard. I got 2 promotions.
Yeah.
But I moved after that. So
Okay.
yeah. So
And then take us through what happens a little bit on your journey, because I know you've unpacked it here for me, but let's go through it a little bit more. So you've worked, graduate role, got a few promotions as well, and then take us through.
yeah, and then so I only lasted a year or so in that company. So and then I applied for another job, which then got accepted, and then I got offered actually by this first job. I think the good thing they see the value I bring to their company. But at that time, it was a bit too late. I was already burnt out, and I just can't continue anymore. So I ended up taking the lower paid job for my second job.
Wow.
And then it's like day and night. Like I was working 12 hours in that construction company. And then I went to government, which was literally, I was barely working, literally 2-3 hours a day. And I got really bored for a good 1 year. Like, I just felt like I'm not progressing, and the pay was not high either. So I found another job, which doubled my pay right away, straight off the bat, almost tripled even. So that's when, that's in 2017 when I call it instant promotion, because you don't just double or triple your pay just like that.
Correct.
It was jumping from a graduate position to begin with. But and then you started feeling like you're rich because you're earning so much more than you used to be, right? Now this is where the problem is, because with this blessing, I don't have the right guidance or mentor. I wish I found a podcast like this back then, because then I would know how to invest those extra savings I get from earning more.
Yeah.
But then I did something stupid. I was basically not. I was just saving the money, and I felt like I have all these extra savings. What am I gonna do with it? Like and then I started going into like expensive holidays, which is fine. You create memories doing that, and going to the mountain, to the snow here and there, which is fine. But there was a point where I think this is back in 2019, where I got hooked into like a mobile game. Do you want me to talk about it?
Absolutely.
No?
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to share this, and I think my wife knows about it as well.
Yeah.
The idea is,
Well, if she doesn't, she knows now.
yeah, she knows now. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but the idea is basically I got hooked into mobile games, and it's a free to play, but that's how it's designed. It's free to play. You play with other people. It's like it's going back to, do you know Walking Dead? Like a zombie theme.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like you're set up in that environment, Walking Dead environment, and then you create a city, and then your city becomes stronger, and then you start having a war with other cities, which is real people from all across the country, right? And then they create this competitive sort of tension in the game, and it's free to play until they start offering you more strength if you pay money, right?
Okay.
So that's how it's designed. I don't know if you have played that kind of game before.
Look, it's I'll say yes, only because I can understand the concept here. I'm not a gamer, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out. Like they dangle the carrot.
Yep.
The only way you'll win the game is to spend more money. It's like I think around the Pokemon phase, like you have to buy all these other stuff. And
Yeah, pretty much.
I saw people caught up in that as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so this game, I'll call it, it's somewhat of an addiction, right? How much time, how much money are you putting into this vice?
So in total, I would say close to 50K, if not more.
Wow.
That's from, and this is actually over 1 year. So it's quite a lot.
So you
lot of
spent
money.
pretty much more than your graduate salary in 1 year
Correct.
on this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think more importantly, time. Like
Yes.
money you can always find, but time you can't get back. Those hours, those days. Yeah.
So what snapped you out of it?
Before I get to there, let me show you how frustrating it is when going through that phase.
Yeah.
So there was a point where I realized, because I'm an engineer, so I put into an Excel and I go back to all my receipt and see how much I spend each month. So you can see like an exponential curve. So you can see I was only spending like $200, $300 each month. It becomes 1,000, 1,500, to a point where it's like 6,000 a month. Right, the peak, and this is over 1 year. And then I start realizing, hang on, I'm seeing a pretty bad pattern here. When is it going to end?
Yeah.
It's like a thought, call it chasing a dragon. So no matter how much you spend, there's always someone else who actually spend more. Absolutely. 50K sounds crazy. There are people who actually spend even more than $1 million. And these are like really rich people. They just have too much money. They spend hundreds of $1,000s, and yeah, you'll just never get there, right? So, and that's why it's somewhat addiction, we call it. So, what got me out of it is when I realized the power of investing and compounding.
That just doesn't happen overnight, though. Like you don't get a realization like that overnight, do you?
No. So what happened? My friend introduced me to a share investing, and this is the very, very first time I've ever come across share investing. I mean, I know about it, but I never really think of putting my money there. But there's this thing called ETF, which is a very safe, long term. It's like saving money, right, with better return. And then I started educating myself, and I realized if you keep putting a few $100s every month, and then it grows by 10% or 15%, and it starts compounding, and this is how much money you can have. And then I started realizing, hang on a second, all this money I spent on the games, because I didn't know what to do with those money. If I would have put it into a share, and then it was the COVID dip as well at that time, right? I missed the dip basically, but how much money would I have made for my future? Eventually, it's for my future, right? Because I can't keep playing these games because there's no end to this. Yeah, so that's when I realized, I've stuffed up here. Like, I haven't been very wise with my money. So
Well done.
yeah,
But that doesn't define you, and that's what I think is really important. Like I've known people in my circle that have spent money, lost money, and I think you have two choices in life. You get up and you on your 2 feet and you move forward, or you get stuck in a rut as well. But you've picked up and you've moved forward. So that takes a certain type of resilience. It takes a certain type of mindset to then pick up and cut your losses and move on.
Yeah, 100%. And then I know I'm going to be successful. It's like built in me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think it's a value my parents always put in me. Like,
Yeah, nice.
you're going to be successful. Somewhat, they always direct me to that mindset. So I just have to find a way. And I realized I was going into the other direction in the last 1 year I spoke.
Did anyone know about this when you were spending this money, or was it like a bit of a dirty little secret?
I think just myself. Yeah. So a few friends, but friends from the same community. They
That's what I was about to say. They're kind of they're all
really
in on
helpful.
it as well, right?
But what they start falling off. Like these friends in the community started thinking there's no end to this, and that's when I realized, look, my friends are living in this community, talking about circling yourself with the wrong people here, and you start realize, it's boring. Yeah. So,
what would you say to someone? And there's got to be, with the amount of people that we've got listening, tuning in, there's got to be, even if it's a very, very small percentage of people who are struggling with this, maybe they've got like, it's a spending habit or it's a scrolling habit or it's whatever it is, whatever vice someone has where they're losing time or losing money, and you've been there, so you've got a huge amount of empathy. What would you say to someone that's in that current situation at the moment?
Look, circle yourself with the right people, because this is where, if you have 5 people who are doing something right in their life, then you start subconsciously influence. You get influenced in a sense. And sometimes you might not have close friends who are like that. You can start listening to a podcast like this. Like how I got inspired was listening to another investor's story, which why I'm doing it now, because without me knowing, I might help 1 or 2 people by sharing my story here, right? So I think when you know what is possible and what other people have done, it becomes very reachable. It doesn't become impossible anymore. Like I was in this Facebook group, and I realized only 3 years ago, I was asking a big questions about, I'm planning to buy investment property, 1, maybe 2 by the end of next year or something. And it's only 2 or 3 years ago, and here I am. Like I was looking back 2 or 3 years ago, I was trying to buy my 2nd or 3rd investment property, and here I am with my number 10 already.
Awesome.
Right? So I think it's about really circling yourself with the right people who can help you to get to where you want to be. Yeah. So
that's really, really good advice. And I think when I've done some research on this, one example is stress is contagious. So if you hang around people that are highly stressed, for example, stress is contagious, whether that's in your workplace, whether that's at home, for example. If you got a friend, and this is in no way demeaning to anyone that's going through a situation where they're overweight, but if someone in your circle's overweight, even partner, you have a higher likelihood of becoming
so you
overweight.
think it's all right to be.
Yeah. Same with divorce. Your friends are going through divorce, and you're in that circle, it increases your likelihood. So it's what you're saying there, which is the people that you surround yourself with can really define you or make or break you. So if you want to raise your standards, if you want to play a bigger game, you've got to be around people that are on the same mission and on the same journey as well, isn't it?
Correct. And I came from a circle of friendships who are business minded, so they always want to be successful. That is good. But most of them do not have property investing in mind, right? So, and then I started sort of educating myself and obviously find new friends and, keep your old friends because they are, what makes you who you are. But then now I sort of gone through the journey myself. And when I go back to my old friends, I don't shy away talking about my property investing. And now some of them are getting into the game as well, which is very fulfilling.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
and that's what it needs. It needs someone like you to then move, and the others can then follow, right, as well. So take me through. Your first property that you bought was your primary place of residence.
Yes.
Which when you see on some of these Facebook groups, and I think you and I might be in similar Facebook groups, right, and some of the stuff on there is questionable at best.
Yeah.
But everyone is like, it's probably polarized when people go, should I buy my own home? And some rent investors like, never buy your home, worst debt you'll ever have.
Yeah.
But your first property is your own home, and
Yes.
that's I guess you got this non-deductible debt that you lug around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take me through that decision to first
Decision,
of all buy your own home, because I personally think it's a wonderful move.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, take me through your journey.
Yeah, look, I think it was a lifestyle decision. It was not an investment decision, and the type of property is typically not the type you would want to see the best growth anyway, because it's a half duplex and smaller land, but brand new. But looking back, we do not regret making that decision.
Awesome.
But if I put my investor head, we would have done it differently. So there's two versions of me here.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What would you have done differently then?
look, I think we bought it around 1.2 mil, so probably grown 300 to 400K max in the span of 3 years, right?
Yeah.
If we would have put that 1.2 into Brisbane or Adelaide market, that's the opportunity cost we're missing. That 1.2 doesn't become 1.5 or 1.6. That 1.2 becomes at least 2 million. Possibly 2.3, 2.4 million if we bought in those growing market, right? So that's from investors' perspective, right?
Yeah.
From lifestyle perspective, we enjoyed the house. We are still paying 2% interest rates. We only pay like $400 on interest per week. It's 4x3, 2 stories. Like you would be paying $1,200 for that house if you rent. So that's why we don't regret it, but we could have made a better decision, if we knew what we know now. So, but we still enjoy the place, and we're still paying 2%. So we got a bit lucky again by taking action, as you said.
You're on a 2% fixed rate, mate.
Yes.
You're laughing. No wonder you're so happy.
Yeah, well, until next year.
Until next year. Oh, mate, that's a
we do another catch up.
bloody good time to be fixing, that's for sure.
Yep. So that's two versions of me: the investors and the father figure. Because now we have a child, we want that security. We don't want landlords to keep increasing our rents every now and then.
Which I think is a real turning point for a lot of, I've spoken about our pathway and we've been rent investors, but the turning point really comes when you're starting a family. And I think at that point you go, I hate to be under the thumb of a landlord who can, one, increase the rent, or two, tell me to move out, and you got to pick up and find a new place in the same area, ideally, if you want that security at that certain time. You don't really get your pick of properties. You got to take what's on the market at that time. So that's why I'm like, if you really want and crave that security, because we don't have long lease terms, right? Like you can only really negotiate maybe 1-2 years in advance for a longer lease.
Yeah, and you know, if it's only been 3 years and a bit that we live in this house, and we are already thinking this is not our forever home.
Absolutely.
Very different when we fell in love with it. Like we want it, let's put it, let's overpay for it. Now we're thinking, hang on, we've got Hugo, which is my son. Is this going to be the best school for him? Which it's not the best school. You know, all this decision starts to change. Similar like people when they buy their first, let's say PPOR, they don't have kid, they buy, let's say 2-bedroom apartment in Mascot or Chatswood or whatever. Once they have kid, their decision will change.
Absolutely.
You got to measure what the opportunity cost is. That's why my investor head is telling me I could have made much more money if I put it into reinvesting mode back then.
Okay. Great. So you bought your first property. We're talking 2021. And then in 2022, you go from owning one property to owning 5 properties.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't achieve that in a lifetime. But you've done that in a year.
Yeah.
How?
First of all, they are cheap properties in the sense they are like,
don't discount what you've done. You're still taking, you're still acquired. So there's a mindset that comes with going, hey, we're going to put my foot on the accelerator, go from owning 1 property to 5 properties.
Correct. Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah. First of all, you know, when you buy properties, you need to have the deposit and serviceability and cash flow, right? That's how I think when you can afford it.
Absolutely.
So I think back then, our first property, I was self-employed, less than 1 year. So getting loan was not easy, as you know it, right? So, but I think when you have that realization, you have stuffed up, you know, like going back to 2019 when I wasted all those money, which subsequently delayed my PPOR purchase. Could have bought in 2020, you know, a much better price. You realize you gotta bounce and jump. Like all my life was every day was like about property. Like I just want to excel and accelerate as much as I can. So we went low doc for our first property. We were paying 4%, 4.5% when everyone was paying 2%. And it didn't stop us. We bought in Perth for 380. It's probably worth 620 now. Incredible. Easily. And then 2 weeks later, we bought in Queensland, in regional Queensland. That's only 460. And then 2 weeks later, we bought in Perth again, in the same region with the first property. We bought again 390 back then, 4x2. Probably 600, 620 now.
But all these are low docs, effectively.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Until...
Because, I mean, a low doc, you're not getting it at 92%, 90% LVRs, are you?
No, you're paying 80%.
So you got to have the 20% deposits for these things.
Correct.
Yeah.
So where did the money come from?
And this, I can hear what our listeners are thinking because I get the feedback, which is, hang on, they're trying to do the math going, okay, WA 360 you said thereabouts, so 20% deposits. What are we? 72 grand plus your stamp duty 360. We're talking about maybe 12, 15K.
Yeah.
Plus legals, so 76 plus 15 is, I don't know, what are we talking, 90 something, 95?
Okay, let me correct myself. I remember now. The third investment property, I bought it in July. So now I remember, because that's when we submit our tax lodgement. So now we open up our serviceability again.
Okay, because we got 1 year's tax returns.
Correct, because we are a proper self-employed with 1 year of tax return. So what we did was we stripped the equity from the first and second investment property, because they grew really well in that within 6 months. Yeah, helped us to buy our basically third investment property. So that's where the money comes from. Yeah. So, and I think because my wife actually works in the bank, they allowed a 90% LVR without LMI. So that initially we paid 20% deposit. We can take that 10% plus the growth to help the third and fourth investment.
Which is such a weapon. That 90% no LMI for bank staff. I just don't understand why more bank staff don't jump on this. Every time I tell them, they're like, oh, no, we'll just go 80%. I'm like, are you crazy? You could be 90% no LMI.
They're scared of debt.
What is it?
They're scared of debt. They're scared of good debt. It's excellent debt. This is like the best debt you can ever get. Yeah. Real estate, right?
Right.
It costs you 6%, return 50, 100%. It's crazy. It's no-brainer. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're listening and you work for a bank, have a look at your employee banking. 90% no LMI. You get your annual fee waived, and you usually get a discount on rates.
Yes.
And as brokers, we can now do these loans as well, right? Which traditionally we couldn't do, but now we can do. But I'm very curious why someone doesn't take it up. So if you're listening and you work for a bank, I want to hear from you into like maybe the psyche that goes behind it. No judgments on that. Feel free to drop us a DM if that's something that you want to unpack in another episode as well. But keep going, buddy.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? My wife works in the bank, but the deal was not with her bank. It's another bank, a big bank.
Yeah, but other banks will take. So I'll give you an example. You work for NAB, but you can go to CBA and get 90% LMI.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, which is quite interesting. Why would the I think
why would CBA want to self-insure against someone that works for a competitor?
Yeah, and now my wife loves that bank even better. Yeah. even though she works in another bank. So. Yeah. But yeah, it's available there. Make use of it, because being young, cash is always the barrier to entry property.
Absolutely,
always cash, right? Not serviceability. Now it's different because of high interest rates.
High interest rates, but then you also think, did your wife go to uni as well?
Yeah, she works.
You got 2 HECS as well.
Oh no, I got scholarship, so
there you go, mate.
And she doesn't have HECS debt because fortunately her parents I think paid for that.
Lucky, and I mean that's very fortunate. They're both fairly fortunate positions, right?
Absolutely.
But it takes so many young Australians that have the HECS, and we've covered this off in our broker Q&A as well, which is that again limits borrowing capacity because of the way that HECS is factored in. When you go back 5-8 years, I've been in the game for a while, and like, that was never a thing beforehand.
And what 7% inflation?
Yeah, right.
Which get added to your.
Yeah, I mean they've changed that recently, but it's still it was a loan that was attracting, inflation. But mate, keep going. So even if you're at 90% with LMI or whatever it is, you still had to put your foot on the accelerator and go. So you've stripped the equity from the investment properties to then go and buy properties
number three,
Three,
and four.
four. Yep.
Investment 3 and 4. Yeah.
So which is what you did in the following year. So 2022 we're talking. And then 2023, you've done the same thing. You gone to your 6th up to your 9th acquisition.
Correct. Yeah. So this is when I sort of started helping friends. This is when I guess my buyer's agency journey begins, because I've got friends asking me to help them to find properties because they've seen the success. So I've started seeing friends who actually started getting influence, which I really loved, and I started helping them for free, just giving unsolicited advice and this is a good deal, this is a good deal. So I continually looking for that luck, as you said. Just keep looking for that opportunity, and then there was this deal that came through, which would have been valued around 550 at least to 580 back then. This is in Perth again. This is early 2023, only March or April 2023. But if you remember, interest rate was already high back then.
Absolutely.
It kept going up, right? Yeah. And my friend couldn't afford, or he didn't want to spend more than 500K. In my eye, no matter in which angle I see this deal or this property, it's just really good. It's off market, zero competition. Hopefully, it's not listening lazy agent as well. You have agent that have upside down photos with mobile phones, like really poorly marketed. And then we bought it for 512 in Perth.
So you're saying the comparables come back in at
580, 570 easily.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we bought 512. No finance. We don't have any pre-approval. No finance. We went with Latrobe, which is pretty cutthroat.
It's not a. I don't rag on lenders, but it's
yeah.
They get the job done, but sometimes it's not smooth.
Yeah, we are refinancing, and they're asking us 3 months of interest payment as an exit fee. So that's like almost 10 grand. Yeah. Anyway, so but we bought it. We bought it because we knew it was a good deal. Interest rate was like 7%, so very high back then. But if you're already making that money in that deal, like easily, conservatively 40 to 50 grand, I think you're already winning anyway, even with all those costs. I was in our baby moon back then in Japan. The loan kept getting delayed. But we ended up getting the deal.
Are you talking about the loan approval?
Loan approval, yeah. It's already past the finance date.
Yeah.
And the seller doesn't want to extend anymore. It's already been 1 month.
Oh, okay.
Right? So luckily I had safety net, which is my friends who literally I helped him to find properties for himself. He's got loads of cash. So in the absolute worst case, he's willing to lend his money just to settle for 3 months. I pay him interest and then I refinance and then pay him back. So he's fine with it. So and I think it's karma. I helped him and he helped me back.
Right.
We ended up getting the deal, and that valued more than 700 in just over 1 year now.
That is insane. Bought it for 512, valued at 700.
There is literally on the same street, 3x1 is sold 725. This is 5x2 and a much bigger land. So as a minimum, 725.
And what a yield are we talking on this?
Currently, I think they're paying like 710 rent on this now.
710 a week, and bought it for 512.
512, yeah. So, cash flow wise, it's fine, and we are refinancing it anyway now.
Well done.
I think, if I can take one lessons out of that experience alone, it's about calculating your risk. Because people got scared when they are introduced to these tier 2 or tier 3 lenders, paying literally 2% higher interest rates with hefty exit costs. People got scared, but if you already calculate the numbers and you take action anyway, you are heavily rewarded, like right now. So
at the time, and I can speak from personal experience as well. At the time, it does keep you up at night a little bit. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. When you're going through it, it feels like it's very hard. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
You're almost looking for reasons sometimes to get out of it.
Seeking justification as well from friends.
That's the other part, yeah.
You need to sanity check on this. Am I being emotional?
Correct.
Yeah.
And when it's not going your way, when the finance isn't going your way, you're going, is the universe telling me to back out the deal? And it's like,
I didn't think like that for this one. I was very convinced this is a very, very good deal. Like no matter how many times I see it from different angles, like properties are just selling 640, 620, and literally I think when we were in that settlement period, so it's a cul-de-sac property. The back neighbor like almost the same build and same quality, sold 640. So we haven't even settled, and there's already a comparable selling 640. So yeah.
And again, people listening are going to be thinking this, going, "Hang on, you've got an agent here that's selling this for 512. Surely the vendors are going, we're crazy to be selling this at 512 when everyone else is selling theirs for like with a 6 in front of it."
Yeah.
How does this conversation happen with the agent and the vendor?
Yeah.
Is it a done deal by that stage?
Yeah, funny. So I think we think when we are in the process of buying, our mind is to make money because we are a very present moment. We want to make sure we get a good deal and it's going to go up in value. In Perth, there are people who bought this 10 years ago. The experienced price just crashed. They couldn't find tenants. Finally, they can sell it higher than what they bought it for. And some sellers do their homework and, they want the best price. Some sellers just want to get out of it, just get rid of this property, give us a good price. Well, this is where you need to in constant search of this luck, right, or opportunity, because the stars just aligned. Lazy agent, don't care sellers, and motivated buyers. Yeah, we take it. So we take it, and then finally the client is actually we share the same accountant. Oh, wow. We share the same accountant. So yeah, it was a small world, but.
Was that a sign of the times, or do you think you still see that when you're buying today? Was that a one-off, do you think, or do you still see when you're doing some acquisitions? Currently.
Currently, I think I think this was over a year ago, which was already undersupplied in Perth. Now it's like double that, like the pressure on the demand and supply imbalance is just double that. So I think, I don't know, currently the agent is smarter. They know if they go to the market, they will attract the top dollars. So at least the agent can inform the sellers, we can sell you for this high. Because their challenge is to find listings. If they can sell at a good price, they can knock on the next door. Yeah. And look, I just sold this for a record high. So they're also pressured to sell high, the agent. Whereas back then, a bit like that, but there are agents who are already like in their retirement phase. They just do this part-time. They just know the sellers from like 10 years ago, and they just got asked to sell the property. And this is why we call properties inefficient market. It's a term coined by someone else, but basically it's like the motivation for selling and buying very different than when you buy crypto or when you buy shares. Everyone wants to make money when they buy and sell shares most of the time. Whereas in property, there's that gap of information and inefficiency where you can get a really excellent deals and then next door selling 100, 200K higher. Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's what I love. Yeah.
Love it. Thanks very much. And then, you take me through the continued trajectory on your portfolio.
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to talk about it quickly. So, and then after that deal, which was March, and then we bought another one, I think, in Queensland. That was below 300K. It's really cheap, 4x1. I think 2000 built. It's in Townsville. Everyone knows Townsville now, so it's very hot. We bought just $298,000. I think it's renting $460 now, so it's looking after itself. Probably valued easily, I'd say 400 now. Right,
so we're still buying $100,000 uplift.
Yeah, more than 4. If I spend 10, 15 grand on paint and flooring, maybe 450 can be. Yeah, so, and that's just not even a year, not even 1 year, right? So
that's someone's salary.
Yeah, that's when we realize the power. That's why we continue to buy, and then we bought another one in WA again. This is regional WA now. Yeah. This area is so funny because this was a time where no one was touching this suburb. This was actually on the market, believe me or not, for 1 month. And when I checked, we can check on RP data where things are selling. Literally next door was selling 690. Better house, but not too much better. 690 before interest rate went up in beachside suburb. So, and then I was realized, hang on a second, am I missing something here? Next door, literally 690, and then a few blocks away, 650, and then a few blocks away, 680. Why is this one? Why is no one buying this property? It was asking 520 to 540. So again, we just bought it. We bought it 517. We secured it, and it's valued now. I just had a phone call with a local agent. They can sell it at least 650, at least.
Why was it so heavily undervalued? value?
No ideas, because I think this was in the fringe suburb. Wasn't too popular back then. 4x2 plus theater,
Wow.
10 minutes to the beach. I don't know. Is it because people are putting money into property now because there is a lack of supply? So everywhere just go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you can sell it to local owner occupiers at least 650 because he just sold a 3x2 on the same street for 650. So
Incredible, mate.
yeah, so we bought there, and then the next one was in Brisbane. Actually, we couldn't justify buying house in Brisbane. This is September last year. We were looking to Brisbane because we don't have one because we missed the 2021 2020 boom, right? So we ended up buying a townhouse, actually a villa in Brisbane. The reason we bought this because we just simply lowball it. It wasn't off market. We were seeing comparables being on the 480, 490 for 3x2. CBA valuation, which sometimes can be high, was I think 540 on this.
Nice.
We just put 450 just out of no 451. They take it.
Wow.
Again, the stars were aligning. Lazy agents and seller just wants to offload their investment. And yeah, we got it valued probably around I'd say 550 easily. No.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then the last one we bought back in Queensland. This one is cracking. This one actually January this year. We only bought it 330. We bought it for. The rent is 720.
Get out of here.
720. So it's actually
How?
I don't know. So it's actually dual occupancy.
Yeah.
So the only thing they are sharing is they're not even sharing driveway. They've got their own driveway. The only thing they are sharing is the laundry room.
Wow.
They got their own bedroom, bathroom, kitchen. So the total rent on both is 720. So that makes it around 11% yield from purchase price. Bought it 330. Probably can, I don't know if you sell it now 400, 450 for that yield probably.
Location, if you don't mind me asking?
Townsville. Yeah.
Townsville.
Townsville, yeah.
Right.
So only problem is with that deal, I realized there is some housing commissions nearby. So I was a bit reluctant to give it to someone who is first-time investor because it comes with its own risk.
Yeah.
Like one of the tenants we had to vacate recently. We just find another one easily. So
Can that go into NDIS if it's like that type of dual living? Is that possible, do you think?
I haven't explored that.
Yeah.
You have to pay hefty management fee, right?
Yeah.
If you go NDIS.
I mean, it's already yielding insane. I've had a few clients that they get some good yielding properties
Yeah,
put into the pool, but yeah.
Yeah, and the beauty things about this is you don't pay hefty because in this area, if you have dual occupancy, normally you're paying $6,000 or $7,000 of council rates.
Right.
Not the case for this one
Why is that?
because it's actually just one house. It's just the way it's laid out. It's 2 kitchens, so you're paying one council rates. Yeah.
Incredible.
Mm.
Mate, well done.
So that's where we are now. Yeah. So. So
Mate, it's I'm loving this. Mate, there's and if you're watching, you might be able to see here. Richard's given me a bit of a summary here after our chat that we had beforehand.
Yeah.
But you've talked about kind of years, so we can see what when you had these milestones in your life and what years and what happened.
Yeah.
But the big column here that I'd love to say is what you've taken out of it. And it really speaks to your mindset in terms of like there's turning points in your life which you've turned into lessons and you call it failing forward or there's progress and momentum. But take me through, like when you look at your mindset, there's something that separates you from, I feel, a lot of other people that start a journey, that there's a level of conviction, there's a level of self-belief, for example. How else would you, and this is not, there's no ego when you talk about yourself, you're just saying, look, this is who I am as a person.
Genuinely, how I think. I think I'm still working on my, I guess, every morning convincing myself, like, you gotta keep thinking about what you want to be, and then it becomes subconsciously you work towards that person you want to be, the better version of yourself, basically. So I always have in my mind that I'm going to be successful, and I don't want, I've got this here. I don't know if anyone can see, but I share this with my clients. But what do you think this is?
So you've got 1 to 80 on there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go years of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is one way of seeing your life. How sad it is, like to see, in a sense, you can see because life expectancy is 85, right? And most people, they retire 65, 67. So, the terms YOLO, you only live once?
Yes.
I think in my generation, it was used like, oh, don't worry about your future. You only live once, have party.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is,
I embrace that. Don't worry. I went to Vegas a few too many times.
there you go. There you go. You've been through it. But the other way to interpret that term now is how do you want to live your life? You really only live once in this earth, right? And this is the resource you can't get back. Every year, I'm 31 now. Next year, I'll be 32.
You're bloody young, mate. Okay.
But you can't get back all these years, right? So
I mean, if you break it down, you're 31. So what? The first 17 years you're at school,
correct,
right?
Yeah,
and I'd say, a lot of our cohort, a lot of our network,
yeah.
they go to uni. So you take the next, call it 3 years. I managed to make a degree 5 years, a bit like yourself. I think went to uni is longer.
Yeah.
So what's that? 17, 22, 23, you kind of get out of uni, then you go graduate role.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not really hitting your income straps till you're maybe 25, 26 in that stage.
Yeah.
I talk about, and you look at that,
Yeah.
I talk about real estate through the ages. And I think once you get to like your teenage years, your real estate's here. Like you see the hairstyles, right? That's the real estate that you own, right? You see funky hairstyles, school kids. Then you get to uni and your real estate's your car.
Yeah.
So and I had a chat to a young guy on a weekend. He's like, oh, his mates are buying BMWs. Like, what do you need a BMW for at 21 years old? That's insane.
Yeah.
Save your money. But that's the real estate. You can drive it around. You can show it off a little bit. And then people either get into proper real estate, which is property or shares or ETFs, for example, or they keep blowing their money on life experiences like what you're saying, YOLO, right? And they might have memories for it.
Yeah.
But there's a tinge of regret when they get to their 30s going, other friends like maybe yourself are moving forward and so far ahead.
Yeah.
And they're feeling so far behind. And it's like this bit of helplessness starts to creep in, a little bit of sadness or a little bit of comparison and envy seeps in. It's like there's no flywheel effect because they're trying to play catch up.
Correct. Yeah, I think I'm always naturally a good saver because I always think about the future. But you can't get rich by saving, so you have to find other ways. So investing in property to me is the solution for my life.
Can we give this as a downloadable? Is that cool? We do something like this?
Absolutely. I always, when I chat with my client, there are people, my clients who are in their mid-20s, they're already thinking about buying properties. I get goosebumps. Like imagine, and they're actually earning a lot of money, IT workers working in the bank. There are also people who are in their 40s, 50s, lots of cash. They just need to make sure they know how to invest it now. So I just, to me, because you can't get your years back. So how do you want to live your life, really? So I like going to the snow. I want to go to Japan every year, go to the snow whenever I want. So, and they're expensive, as you know.
Absolutely.
So unless you are somewhat financially secured, you can't live that lifestyle because everything is costs money, right? Some people like to travel. They want to travel 4-6 times a year. Well, if you just using your money then from your daily jobs, unfortunately, it might not last, right? You have to have some sort of assets that provide that passive income to live your lifestyle how you want it. So that's one of the reasons. I always look at this and I see how that's why I do this reflection, right? How did I do in my previous years? I've been quite happy for the last 3 years, but I don't want to be complacent and stop investing, right? I want to make sure I reach to my goal faster, and I want my friends to do the same. That's why I'm here, right? And I think that way you really living your best life. You can see here why it's green, because you want to make sure you live your best life in all these years. You don't want to go to your 65 and then you realize, now I'm retired, what do I do? And you look back the last 40 years, oh man, what have I done?
So Richard, you nailed it. As a 31-year-old, you got a good head on your shoulders. I speak to a lot of people and I see it. I see it when people get to that later stage in life and now they get to there and go, now what? I mean, I had all this time to think about it. And now you get to 65 and then think about what you're going to do next. Like you just don't stop working one day and then pick up a new hobby the next day. It's a real shift. Like you lose a bit of that purpose when you're not going to work. You lose that social network. You use that ability to think critically think as well. So I don't think stopping work is the answer. I think it's a bit like what you and I have, which is, hey, we're doing something we really enjoy. We're going to help people. Yeah. Yes, we're making clients rich. Yeah. But we're also trying to help ourselves and our family as well. It's a real win-win all around.
It is, yeah. And in my earlier days when I was trying to look for jobs, like there's always a question. This is back when I graduated uni,
Yeah.
going back when I was applying hundreds of job applications. It's always a question. Uh, what, why do you want to apply for this job? What do you
Yes.
want to get out of it? You can't say this, but because I want to make money.
Absolutely.
I want to make the best money, right?
Yeah.
And why I enjoy what I'm doing now, because literally what we're doing ourselves is making money through this investing, right? And we're helping other people as much as we can if they need help to do the same. Like you talk about buying car, BMW. We're actually buying a new car, which I never really imagined I would trade my time, work for so long, use that money that I traded my time with to buy this car, which I know will depreciate in value. We know it will depreciate in value. But because this car will be funded by one of our investment property, who we literally just bought the property in 2 years, the equity is enough for us to buy this car.
And the cash flow is supporting.
And look, it's like to reward ourselves. We have reached to 10 properties, and we have a kid. We need the bigger car. That's my justification to my wife. But I really love the
Are
car.
you buying a new car?
Yes.
Dude.
And that's purely from the equity gain from one property. It's not from the time I don't want to trade my time for things like that, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't get it back. But from equity, that's the property working and rewarded the car. Yeah.
Let me just tell you, as one dad to another, I downgraded my car.
Oh, did you?
The kids ruin your car, man.
Oh, now I'm changing my mind. So
Honestly, they trashed the car. I look in the back. I don't want to look in the back seat, mate. There's like some apple that's decaying in the back seat of our car. But anyway, you'll figure that out for yourself, mate.
Yeah, and I don't want to be shouting at my kids
Oh,
because they
mate,
ruin my
this
car.
is
But
it.
you will, right? Because it's like it's your toys.
They're making a mess anyway. Love them to death. So, mate, if someone's listening and maybe they're on the start of the journey, maybe they're a couple properties in, wherever they are on that journey, what's, I guess, your last piece of advice or insights that helps people? And I'm not saying this to kind of get people buying 10 properties. Some people just that they don't want that, and that's cool. But they're capable of more than what they think they are. What's your kind of message to them?
Look, I think always goes back to this. Like, firstly, you always think that years in your life, it's something you cannot get back, and anyone can pass away anytime, right? Don't sacrifice your lifestyles for the sake of buying properties. You still have to go to holidays and enjoy your time. Like sometimes I'm guilty of. I work for so long, I spend less time with my family, which I'm trying to get better. But always look at this. You cannot get time back, right? You want to make sure you live your best life. And how do you get there? You got to keep the balance between investing, living your current lifestyle, and start thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead, right? So don't just blow all your money because you don't know what to do with it, right? Invest it now. Never take no as an answer. If your broker said no, go to Aaron. He will find a way for sure.
If my team say no, come to me.
Yeah, he will find a way. Or never say no when your bank or mortgage broker said no, because mortgage broker is literally the most important thing now. When you scale beyond what you think your glass ceiling was, a good mortgage broker can get you above that, right? So design your lifestyle and tell yourself how do you want to live life in 5, 10 years, and how do you want to get there? Is it through shares, through investing, through business, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Mate, your buyer's agency, iProperty Finder, I wish you all the very best. We'll include details as well. So people want to reach out, get in touch, just have a chat to you. I think that session where you just unpack the years of your life, that to me is absolute gold when you talk through, because seeing it on a page, there's something about that when you look at it going, like I look at that and I'm nearly halfway through on that journey of being 85.
Yeah.
But
you don't look like one.
No, thanks, I appreciate that. But it goes, hey mate, you're never too late. Half your life, but you look at, and it's a poor example because it's extreme. But Warren Buffett at 65, $3 billion net worth.
Oh yes.
180 whatever it is from the next 10, 15, 20 years. And
You're
it's
very
like,
humble though. Yeah.
right, and it's like you've got to play the long game. You've got to play the long game.
But it's not just about the money, it's about how you want to use that money. Some people just want to live humbly, like drive moderate cars, even though they are billionaires. And maybe they do charity or donation and making the world a better place in a sense. And money is one aspect, definitely can do that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's... It's powerful.
Awesome. Hey, if you're listening and you've loved this episode, we don't want the reviews. We've never been big on that. What we want to do is share this with someone that's in your circle. Quite often we'll get one person that's, maybe in a relationship or a partnership with someone, and they're on the journey, but they're not bringing their partner on that journey. So if you found this helpful, share this with a partner or share this with a friend who you think, going back to Richard's story, who maybe just falling off the wagon a little bit, where they're wasting time, wasting money, for example. They could channel that into getting into the property market. If Richard's done it, not putting you down, but if you've done it, anyone can do it. That's why you're here to share your story.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who, I guess, in a sense, earn much less in their job. They don't go to uni. You know who this is, like a lot of people, but they're now like 20, 30, 40 properties, like much bigger and did much better. Like, I think the sky is the limit. Like, if you really put, work towards it, you will get there.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a wrap for another episode of the Australian Property Investment Podcast. We'd love your feedback. Keep sending us your DMs, your messages with questions as well. We're loving the feedback that we're getting from our listeners. Until next time, take care.